Hello humans. Something I kind of just wanted to talk about was my college experience thus far, because I'll be entering my final year in the fall, and I went through 3 years of college and 21 years of my life without knowing that I was autistic. So this information kind of conceptualizes a lot of the problems that I experienced and a lot of the struggles that I had. This video is kind of just going to be getting at my experiences living with people and living in dorms as an autistic person. I think that one of the biggest struggles for me overall has been sensory issues. I live with 3 other people at all times while I'm on campus. The walls in my dorm are paper thin. So you can hear everything. You can hear every little sound, every little noise. You can hear every time someone comes in or out of their room or in or out of the front door. You can even hear people speaking. I swear you can hear bitches breathing, okay? I swear you can hear a bitch breathe in there. If you're just sitting there, the walls are so unbelievably thin. I have a fan in my room, and I've always had a fan in my room. I have one going right now. I hope it's not too loud, but I have a really loud fan that I use to help me block out as much sound as possible from the outside so that I can't hear every little thing and every little movement and every little conversation going on. But it still is a struggle. I've had a lot of different roommates. Some will scream for fun, just for no reason, bitches just be screaming. Some are just very aggressive and like to slam things. Some like to talk really, really, really loud, on the phone. People are so different, and I've lived with so many different people, and I have arguably had some very traumatic living situations, but sound is a struggle for me, hearing all the people that I live with, as well as just the way that the dorm is in terms of cleanliness and organization and other people's things. Something that I really struggle with is eating due to sensory issues. I've never had clean roommates in my life, and I've had probably 10 different roommates. I've never had a clean roommate, and it's really, really hard for me. I will do my cleaning, but I refuse to clean up after other people, because why would I do that? You know what I mean? I did for quite some time because it bothered me so much that I literally couldn't even stand to I could not navigate my own home because it bothered me so much. But I got to a point where I just refused to do that because I'm not gonna clean up after you. Get it together, you're an adult. When things aren't cleanly, that's something that I really, really struggle with, especially coming into contact with certain textures or smells, or if I step on something wet, or there's just so many things that make it very hard for me to do something like feed myself, for example. When I go into the kitchen, maybe it smells bad, maybe there's crumbs on the counter where I would make my food typically, and then I open the fridge and everyone's food is just kind of thrown everywhere and not that organized, and it's hard for me to look at, and it's hard for me to just focus on my food when there's all of these things in the fridge, and the fridge is probably dirty, and seemingly simple things like that I really struggle with. And one of the biggest problems that I've had since living with people in college is actually eating and feeding myself. It's really, really difficult for me for that reason. I don't like to go out and cook because what if someone else comes out to cook? What if my roommate or roommates are already in there cooking? What if they're eating out there? If I'm out there cooking, I'm stuck in the kitchen. I have to stay there. I can't really just leave things unattended. and then, people may be coming in or going out or trying to talk to me, and things are dirty and things are in weird places, and it's just so like stressful that I kind of would just rather avoid it entirely. And that definitely comes with a cost. I pay a price, and sometimes it's my health, and it's really not a good thing, and it's really not an easy thing. And like, I struggled so much living with roommates that I think these struggles were a part of what ultimately helped me kind of realize that I was autistic. I have so many like sensory issues. I am very sensitive to temperature. I run hot. I get hot very easily. And it seems like everyone I've lived with is the opposite, and people will get cold and I'm like sweating. So even if someone changes the temperature like 1 degree up, like if I had it on 70 degrees and then someone turns it to like 71, I'll be in my room and I'm like, it's fucking hot in here. Like, why is it so hot? And I can go out and see that it's literally only been changed by 1 degree. Like, I'm crazy. I'm crazy, bitch. I should be a weatherman. I don't even need to be trained for it. I'll like lick a finger and be like, it's 74.5 degrees, 32% humidity. Do not go outside because it's gonna rain in an hour. Like, I'm so sensitive to temperature, and it's just really hard living with other people and finding a spot where everyone is comfortable. It's almost a little impossible. So I mean, that's why I try to do things for myself, like have a fan to block out noise, to cool me down. Doesn't usually work, but just stuff like that. This kind of leads me to the next like big struggle, and that would be my routines and my habits, and trying to fit that into the place where 3 other people also have or don't have routines and habits. When you live with other people, you almost have to build your life around theirs, unfortunately, because it's like, well, there's only one kitchen and we share bathrooms, and it can really, really be difficult when my roommate's schedules affect my routines, because I am a creature of habit. I have routines. If they get messed up or altered, or I can't carry them out, it can be very distressing to me. That is pretty common for autistic people, and living with roommates can kind of prevent that from being possible sometimes. For example, if you and your roommate wake up at the same time, and then, they're going to eat breakfast, and that is your only time to eat breakfast, and you have to leave shortly after, so by the time that they're done making breakfast, it's like I can no longer eat, and then I have to leave, and then I might come back from class and my other roommate is making lunch, and it's like it's so difficult. And that is part of what kind of factors into me really struggling to meet my basic needs in these situations, like my sensory issues combined with my routine almost not even being in my control anymore. Like, I can try to structure it around other people, so I know like, oh, my roommate probably won't be in the kitchen right now, so I can quickly go make lunch before they get back and make lunch. But it's just like, it's really hard. Like, everyone has a different schedule, and it's something that you kind of just have to work around, and it's really difficult for me to do that sometimes. And sometimes things are like unexpected and things change, and every day is not the same, and your roommates have different schedules every day, and it can really throw me off. The constant like change and living with people who are very different than you, in terms of their routines and their habits and their cleanliness, and just all of these other factors that affect me deeply. I'll try to like have things like snacks or leftovers or things that I can kind of just grab and take and eat in my fridge or like in my room so that I'm not completely like starving when things don't go to plan. The majority of my struggles are kind of sensory and then also like routine related. It's really hard to have people in the dorm that don't live there because it's already hard for me to have people to share a dorm with people that do live there. So when roommates bring partners over or friends over, or even worse, large groups of friends over, I can fall apart. It's a very common autistic experience where the person may feel like visitors in the home are like a threat. I logically know and understand that this person is not a threat. They're not going to murder me. I am not scared of them. I may even be familiar with this person and I may be used to them coming and going, for example, like a roommate's partner. But I still really struggle with that because in my head it's like this person does not belong here, like they're not supposed to be here, they don't live here, and they're in my space, like my safe space, even though, again, I logically know and understand that like this is everyone's space, and of course, you know, they should be allowed to bring people over the same way that, you know, I should, as long as it's not causing any insanity. But despite that, like I really struggle with people bringing in guests or visitors that don't live there, because that in itself brings on more sensory challenges as well. Reflecting back on my experience though, like knowing that I am autistic, a lot of these things make so much more sense, and I was so hard on myself for the longest. Why do you care so much? Like, why are you so bothered by things that no one else you have ever lived with seems to be affected by or even notice, let alone give a shit about? I felt like it shouldn't have been as hard as it was. And yes, I have lived in some god awful situations with roommates in college. I have had some very, very stressful situations, but when everything was good, in the sense of like my roommates were relatively respectful, we all kind of just kept to ourselves, you know, we didn't really bother each other, we just kind of coexisted, things weren't too loud, like even in those situations, I managed to notice that like I was always in distress, and there's so many things that just, you know, I can't control because it's a shared space, and I have to find ways to try to cope with this and work through this and work around it so that I can be okay as well and function in this shared environment. But it can be really hard, and personally, this has been the most challenging aspect of college for me, and it really kind of opened my eyes to how much I struggle with sensory issues. But it also kind of helped me realize like what I do need in order to be okay and in order to feel more calm and at peace. And I've tried to create a little sanctuary out of my bedroom, you know, work with what I have. There are definitely things that I know I can do to make the experience more tolerable, but I think that ultimately it will never be comfortable or ideal for me, realistically. Yeah, thank you for listening if you did. Any fellow autistic people, if you've had any similar experiences or have any tips for kind of coping with sharing a living space, it would be great to hear from you. But yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Spread a little love if you can. Turn off the bright lights and don't be a dickhead.